I have maybe 2 meters of magazines. For me, English was the key.
Okay.
Yes,
if we narrow it down to discuss with that you are coming from an aquaculture study and then breed a lot of fish, then we want to narrow it down to discuss with where do you learn, where do you study about discuss with, because yeah, as we have already mentioned before, that Scalare is easier compared to discuss with on top of breeding, and discuss with has their own level in every step of the breeding process, from the mating, from the racing, and so on. Where do you find this kind of information before? Because previously, I believe there is not like now. Internet is everywhere, right?
in the past, I'm young,
Mm.
but in the 19th, I'm 41. I discover internet.
Okay. Yeah.
In the past, when I was in my aquaculture school, one of my aquaculture schools had in internet room, so we could go on internet.
I see.
And at this moment, I knew nothing about English. I was totally close to English,
Mm-hmm.
but I saw that if I wanted to evolve in the discus, I had to learn English, to read how the breeders do the process. But I would say I learned first during my training periods, because the hand shellfish farm also bred some discus. So I start to discover this during my training periods. Also in France, in the past, there was a breeder whose name it was simple. It was the Répillet family. It was named Discus Farm. They created a forum to share and also to sell their fish, but to share many information. And it was at this moment, it was the beginning, about the discussion forums, and everybody wrote on it. And we start learning in this kind of forums, sharing. Also some magazines behind me. I don't know if you can see, but I have maybe 2 meters of magazines.
2 meters.
Yes, old magazines.
Yeah.
So we start to discover all this in magazines. A few books. In France, we had a good books. I don't know if I can find it, but we had a good book talking about discus and the process. But I never evolved as quick as I wanted when I discovered the English language. When I start learning English, you discovered so many things, because it opened to many sources, and also it allow you to discover other people, other breeder. If I don't speak a little bit in English with you, you cannot discover the Indonesians discus hobby.
Yes.
For me, English was the key.
English is
For me,
windows of for anything.
yes. It
Yes.
opened to many to travel, you can share so much. because in fact there are discus lovers everywhere. I receive so many messages from, sometimes you cannot imagine someone is breeding a discus in this part of the world.
Yeah.
So English was the key, and we start with books, magazines, and of course during my training periods as a professional in tropical fish breeding.
I got interested before that you mentioned about a forum, a discussion group. What is the year that it's conducted before?
When it begins, forums for
when
me?
it begins, yes.
Yes, I would say in the 19th. The end of the 19th, I would say, because I remember the first show in 1996. It was Duisburg in Germany. I discovered this in magazine, and at this moment I don't remember to have internet at home. So I would say the end of 19, quite in this at this moment, the end of the 19. Yeah.
Wow,
it's quite
amazing.
It's quite new if you reflect about it.
Yeah, it's quite new.
It's
but
quite.
I mean, I mirror it to what happens here in Indonesia, that the information before is not as open as nowadays. Every breeders, from what I heard from the senior, from the one who already breed since many years ago, that information is closed.
You
Not sharing, not so many people want to share about the information. Then it's the contrary with your experience, that you have your own forum, you have your own group discussion to learn from each other. That's amazing.
Yes, it's when you reflect about it, it's only linked to few persons. You only have to get the chance to have 1, 2, or maybe 5 persons who want to share.
Yeah.
And the forums I was talking about, it was a family. Of course, they sell discus. So for them, it was important that people learn, because more people you have who know about discus, more you feed, more they sell the fish, you know.
Yeah.
So it was, I think it was linked to this, but we had also maybe 3, 4 forums we had in the past. They are quite open. Not so many persons go on it now, because it's quite dead. The forums are quite dead now. But we had in France, we had some good forums, and it was interesting to read. I spent so many hours reading. Also good forums who still who remain dynamic is Simply Discus in USA.
Yeah, I learned a lot from that Simply Discus amazing forum.
Many people. It's a very interesting forums. Yes. So I went to French forums, but also go on Singapore also. Singapore Discus Club forums.
Yeah.
In Sweden's fish Discus Fish Sweden forums. In Asia, Malaysia, some of them, not so many, but some. I went also to forums in Malaysia, but yes, in the past we learned a lot on forums, but I would say it's very linked to few persons. If you have only one person who want to share, to want to create, to give his time, you will see everything open, because when you go somewhere to find some good information, you go on internet, you Google it, and you try to see what's happened.
Yes,
and if you find it's like you, for example, I follow you, I start following your job because you are sharing if you share, I discovered many parts of the Discus hobby in Indonesia because you are sharing. You share on Instagram, and so you start to link to each other. You say, oh, okay, this guy is breeding this. Oh, this is interesting. Then you start to link. So you only need sometimes one person who share, and it goes.
It's the power of sharing, the power of giving experience, information. Like the dot is connected one by one. It seems like that. Yeah. This is amazing.
It's like this. So we should not stop sharing, because for me it's important. But it's also how you are, you know. If you have some people with a very big knowledge and they don't want to share because they want to stay alone. I respect this also, but we need to have some people who want to share with books, with magazine, with internet, with YouTube, with Instagram. No matter it come from, we should share a minimum.
Nice. Everyone has their own choice, has their own path, and we need to respect that. That's